I was born with a rare cancer of the eye called retinoblastoma as a child. I spent 9 years of my life with no eye at all. Literally, the socket was empty. One way or the other, something set me off, and I jumped off a third-story building all the way down. And I suffered multiple fractures. I actually nearly died, and I don't know why I didn't. It was only God, and that was my first encounter with God.
Make sure that you subscribe on this channel. It helps a lot. Don't forget to watch the ads. Don't skip the ads, guys. It does something on YouTube too. And also like the video. If you like the video, it's gonna go to more suggestions kwezinye YouTube zabanye abantu. And also please comment what's your favorite episode or what do you see in this platform that you love. And also you can press the join button. You get the badge, you get exclusive content, and also members only content.
Welcome to the biggest podcast in the world. Yeah. Me say dive into the rhythm, feel the new wave vibe. Yeah. Where fresh thoughts and voices come alive. Sondela, Amela, yeah. Ashipatelo kuhlibu twangena. Oh, isagalanga nenu, angabafuna ukuphoswa ilendo.
Umjida Activist Entrepreneurs Pty Ltd brings you the fresh Umjida Dry Gin, Umjida Wines, Activist Dry Gin, Activist Wine. You can get it anywhere. Just holler at us 08403819000, or you can contact Cadenza at New Wave Podcast and get hold of us. Ijan Endala, Ijan Yasekasi, Umjida, a representation of a hero, Yaselokshini.
Before sibe kanti siyaqala, yabo.
Okay.
Kunendlela esithanda ukwamkela ngayo i-guest. Kodwa kuyotsho wena ke mhlawumbe uzawuyenza lento kanje uzoyenza. Asizodlula ke ngapho. Siyesike sithi make sithi nje i-short A1 and then usirate apha kwi-Activist Dry Gin uba xa unoyirate from 1 to 10 ungayirate ibe 1 okanye sikuthi mhlambe iglass ye-melody ye-Activist elanto ke wine o rate nakuyo ukuthi mhlambe from 1 to 10 ungayirate ngabani.
I don't even know what you're saying. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, nazo into sithetha ngazo in front of so this is Activist dry wine, Activist Dry Gin in the middle. Yabo. So ka ungumuntu oselayo,
Okay.
and then uyalantuka uyafumana a short so
Okay.
that urate le product uba wena ungayirate mhlambe ungayinika bani, ungayinika mhlambe bani from 1 to 10. Yeah, out of 10 ungayinika bani.
Okay.
So ndithethile njalo, but if awulungi kwezi it's fine, then siyayidlula kuyo.
Don't drink. I don't even know
No.
this thing.
That means you can't rate.
You can't.
Awungeke ukwazi urate.
I would never.
Because kumele urate based kwizinto sowuzivile kwezinye jeans so uke wazisela ngaba ukuthi okay, because lena incha essential. So I think now you know been 3 years or 4 years now iconic game.
Yes.
Yeah. 3 to 4 years a game in icon. Yenziwa,
gaming. Okay.
which means
You guys make it sound so interesting.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, yenziwa ngaba kwamjita wines, mjita wines clothing and beverages bafumaneka pha ku Facebook. Umandisi Sindo ungamcontacta naye mhlambe xa ungathi mhlambe unomdla mhlambe wokuxhasa elo shishini lakhe noba ungalixhasa mhlambe ngantoni uyabazithengisa impahla. So zininzi ke izinto abazenzayo but ngoku base-based Lantuka at Joburg.
Okay.
Based at Joburg. So masikwamkele kwishow yethu. Molo kunjani Cindy?
Ndiyaphila Nkosi ninjani?
Siyaphila nathi. Mhlambe xa unasichazela mhlambe a bit about yourself like Cindy kubani uphuma phi and then kuzothi gakule ndawo kuyo mhlambe wenza ntoni ngoku?
My name is SINDY KHOLIWE. I am 34 years old. I am from Bloemfontein. I was born and bred there. I went to study in Cape Town. I did my Bachelor of Nursing. And then I graduated. I went to work in Eisner Hospital. I was born with a rare cancer of the eye called retinoblastoma as a child. So because of that, I carry a gene of cancer. And then 7 years I was in Eisner, but in 2018, I was diagnosed with a brain cancer. 2019, I finally decided to take treatment and agreed to surgery and all of that. That's where my cancer journey started. And then 5 years down the line, I had been fighting. To this point, I had been working obviously as a sister, professional nurse and midwife. And then because of my deteriorating condition, I had to stop for a while, lost everything, literally everything, and had to fully focus on my health. I had multiple cases of facing death row. And yeah, I think that's where most people kind of got in touch with my story and my journey. And so currently I am not working as yet because I had to take a pause on my career. So I lost my job, I lost everything, lost my houses, I lost my literally everything. So that's where I am right now, trying to rebuild my life, still on treatment, on remission, and facing a case where the cancer is slowly spreading to most parts of my body, trying to keep it under control while trying to rebuild my life and restart my career again.
Wow. Ndikhe ndakubona ngathi ubusy andazi noba mhlambe unceda abantu abane cancer ungusemsebenzini unxibe impahla zomsebenzi ngaba uyenza loo nto mhlambe into nje uyenzayo for unceda abantu okanye into?
No, every time when it gives me a bit of a break, because sometimes you remission, it means that the cancer cells have stopped growing. So you are either on treatment and then you stop treatment for a certain while, and then we call it remission because at least the cancer cells have stopped growing and you're okay. And for that period, when I'm in that period, then I go back to work. So I do work, and I work as a midwife most of the time. I deliver babies. And then in my spare time, I volunteer for cancer groups and cancer. I do go for groups that are like Wings of Hope. I think that's where you guys found me. The referral was from Wings of Hope. That's basically a community of cancer people with different cancers, breast cancers, brain cancer, any kind of cancer. It's almost like a community where we come together and we share our stories, and then when you're going for a surgery or treatment or whatever, that's where you get your support, we get and so on and so forth. And then what I've personally done is to go and volunteer to assist children who are suffering from cancer, eye cancers and brain cancers and so on, because I personally was born with a childhood cancer. And that's where it all started for me. I was a child when I had the cancer, and my eye was taken out when I was 2 years old. So I've got a prosthetic eye on my left eye. So for me, abantwana abane cancer are very close to my heart. It hits home for me to see a child suffering from cancer. So I personally volunteer. I go to hospitals sometimes to just spend time with the kids in the cancer wards and so on when I have time. And I also mentor teenagers when I have time at church, in my community. I mentor children, I mentor teenagers, just about life, anything basically. I just like giving my time to humanity. Yeah.
Yes, you look so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you look so beautiful, omhle. And onye umuntu angeke azayiqaphela uba mhlambe kwakwenzeka into ngolu hlobo. Mhlambe xa unocacisela onye umuntu like because hey yabona ndiye ndava lamba uthi imehlo lakho lakho usemncinci and then mhlambe xa unosibasela ngala process ukuze nyani uyabona indlela ogqirha abakwazi ngalo kanye abantu abakwazi ngalo ukuthi phinde balifakele balifakele balenzela matcha ngqo mhlambe xa la process ungayibalisa ukuthi kwenze kanjani so that umuntu azoyazi ba onomntana mhlambe onjalo kanye umemehlo elithile mhlambe na ofuna afuna uncedo naye lizofumana a matching eye elifana naye kwenzeka nje.
It's a bit difficult to direct umzali to a certain point or to a certain part or to a certain hospital, because with my case I was born with the cancer, right, and it was only seen late, like when I was 2 years old. So if mhlambi yayifunyenwe when I was born with it at that time, mhlambi ngelaliseyivekile imehlo lami. But anyway, yafunyana when I was 2 years old. So it had advanced cancer behind my eye. They had no choice but to take out my eye to save my life and to also save my other eye. Because if it would have spread to my other eye, probably spread to all other parts of my brain and so on, and then I probably would have died. But now the problem was that I spent 9 years of my life with no eye at all. Literally, the socket was empty. And now, as a child, imagine ukula with no eye at all. At that age, uyabaza abantwana brutal and cruel kangakanani. So I had to face bullying and yonke la process. It's trauma. So I had to face all that up until I was 9 years old, close to 10 years old, when my teachers took it upon themselves to say bazan khangeleli sponsor for my eye. And because I could not obviously afford ogqirha for amehlo ayadura, and it's not all hospitals that do them for free. That's a reality that most people out there don't understand, and they impose lendo yobanga public hospitals can do everything. They don't do everything. So in my case, they had to sponsor, find a sponsor and also chip into, I think, pay for it. Because of money, I was about 10 years old, and I also got my first pair of glasses at that time. And throughout the whole 9 years before that, I was struggling because my eye was only one. Like I was functioning with only one eye. So ukubona ngemehlo liyi-1, ukufunctiona ngemehlo liyi-1, ukufunda ngemehlo liyi-1 liyasindwa. So the weight yemehlo liyi-1 is very heavy. So fast forward, like prosthetic eye ndandiyifakwe when I was 10. Ndiphila nayo all this time, ndiyakhula, muscles on my eye nazo ziyakhula. So ngaphakathi lihamba lijikeleze, if you get my point. It's almost like my socket is growing bigger, but the eye is still the same size. So as it stays the same size, socket ikhula bigger, it obviously closes on. So liba lincinci basically, yes. So that's how now I had to spend my teenagehood with the eye, yes, but it's getting smaller and smaller. So now it's another trauma, because even though I do have the eye, but I'm still being bullied because my eyes are uneven and because my eye is not the same, and so on and so forth. So it's double the trauma. Anyway, again, fast forward, what I can tell parents who have children that are facing the same thing: go all out for your child. So ask for help if you have to. Go all out. And these days there's social media. Social media is very advanced. There's social media. Don't be scared to share your journey or your child's journey with the world, because you never know where the help is gonna come from. Because I never did that because I didn't know at first, but only when I was working was I able to find help again, because I was in the health sector as well. Only then was I able to find help to say, and so on and so on. And only then did I find out that I needed a built-in socket gala to find a bigger eye. So my advice to a mother facing a similar problem would be, find the necessary help, ask the necessary people, share your journey with everyone that you can find. Social media is advanced and it's broad, so help can be anywhere, and government hospitals do not offer everything. Money is required even in the government sector nowadays, and it's unfortunate. So if you need to find sponsors, find sponsors. If you need to find help, find help. And more than anything, support your child, because the brutality and the cruelty that they will face out there, the bullying and everything, it stays with them.
Powerful.
It stays with them.
Yo. Okay.
Sesinde ndilandoza ne ifuna ukuveka kahle ngizozama ukota kancinci nento ndingakubuyisela emva kakhulu, like
Yes.
the way you put it ne, you say your childhood was a trauma, even a teenage era yakho yayi-trauma, like kawusithele qaba man ungabi mde kakhulu, like how was your journey when you were growing up, like bekunzima kangakanani na, like you have to go to school nele situation ubekho abantwana abangeva and abantwana bethu ze-savages kakhulu, like how was your upcoming?
What I can emphasize on is that the Black community does not understand trauma. Black community does not understand depression. Black community does not understand that children and bullying is something that stays with a child and cannot be erased and can have late repercussions and late effects on a child. So it cannot be reversed. So my upbringing was that I had to overcompensate all my life. I've always had to overcompensate. I was that child with one eye who had limitations. I could not play fully with other children because I could not do this and that because limitations one. So li function to a certain level, and then I have to stop. Even nokufunda, ndifunde lidino, I have to stop. But with that, I always have to overcompensate. So now when other children obviously study to a certain level, I have to do double the work all the time. I had to make sure that I don't fail eskolweni, because if I do fail, then it proves to people that I would never be the same as you when I unamehlo, because that was one of the fears my doctors had, that imehlo lam lesibini, the right eye, the one that is functioning, lizahambe lambe lidinwe msinyane, and mhlawumbe linganazo nazo i-cancer cells and so on, lihambe lambe libe blind. So my greatest fear was that, losing the only eye that I have. So I've always had to overcompensate to make sure that I match your energy, I match you, and I match your pace, so that no usemva because unemehlo one. Do you understand what I mean? And that stayed with me even when I didn't realize it, that I've always had to overcompensate my entire life. And I've always had abantwana bulishayo even in teenagehood that made me feel like I was not enough. I've always felt like I was inadequate, I was not enough. Everything that I do, I always have to overcompensate in everything, even not only in school, even when I was working as a professional. I graduated, I've never had to repeat a year at school, university, everything. I did everything in record time with my one eye. But that was not enough for me. And that's when I had to go to therapy, because it made me feel like I've always had to overcompensate. Even in the workspace, now when I'm at work, I do double the work because I feel like I'm inadequate. I feel like I'm not enough.
It's been a pressure more.
Yeah.
So which means mhlambe zezinye challenges obanazo ezo ngenxa yobana le eye cancer.
Yes.
Okay.
And then when my cancer came back in adulthood in the brain, it was re-triggering.
So tell me a bit about leyo inansika brain cancer yona.
2018, I'm experiencing these whole symptoms that I'm not going to go deep into because obviously it's a lot. I'm experiencing these symptoms that I'm familiar with because I'm in the health sector and I'm in hospital, I'm working. And, you know, you throw them over the window because you're like, I'm working and I will medicate myself and they don't go away. Eventually you go to hospital, you get admitted, you get scans and stuff, they come clean, and then you get the symptoms again, you go back. And then eventually one doctor says to me, we cannot be treating you for the same symptoms so many times. We must be missing something. And I am re-triggered again because I had these symptoms 2010 when I was doing my first year university, and I panicked. And because I'm a child who's always had to go through life in trauma, I panicked that year to a point yoba I could not deal with them because if ndiyagula ngoku and I'm doing my first year, I might not finish my degree. So that triggered an impulse in my brain that said, if I'm not going to finish my degree, I'd rather not be alive at all. And I had tried to commit suicide. That was 2010. So now I'm having these symptoms. This is 2018. And then eventually they have the scans, and the scans show a tumor in my brain. They do a biopsy, it's cancerous. And then I shut that door and I'm like, I'm not going to do treatment. I'm not going to do anything. I close that door, I go about life. The symptoms don't go away, I get sicker and sicker. And then 2019, I decide, okay, you know what, let me stop being so in denial.
Let it be.
Let it be and let me get help.
So how fast can it spread?
It depends on where it is.
Okay.
It depends on where it is and how big the tumor is and how rapid can it spread. So in my case, it was still behind my eye and was pressing on my nerve.
Okay.
And because I am again dependent on one eye, it was too much of a risk for me to take. I had to get help to save my brain, to save my eye. So I started getting help, and that was the beginning of my journey with cancer. And at that time, I decided to share my journey with the world, and that's when I started going through social media and going all over, like sharing my journey on social media, on my social media platforms, my Facebook, my Instagram, everywhere. I documented my journey from then through and through. Every single step of my journey was shared.
And then what advice mhlambe onoyinikeza umuntu onothi afunyanwe ene brain cancer?
There is no guarantees. There is no guarantees. There is no certainty. There is no guarantees. Personally, I've never had to lean on my faith like I've had to in the past 6 years. There is no certainty. There's no guarantees. Whether you go in with braveness and hope, whether you go in crying and dragging yourself, the situation is the same. It doesn't change. So you choose how you go in. You choose how you go in, and you choose how you'll come out of it. One thing I can tell you, cancer changes you. You never come out the same. But you choose how you go in. You cannot change the situation. They always say that you change your attitude. But with cancer, you do not only change your attitude, but cancer does not only, when you get diagnosed with a cancer, it's not only your diagnosis, it's everyone around you. Your family your family gets diagnosed, your friends get diagnosed, your children, if you have children, get diagnosed, your husband, if you've got a husband, gets diagnosed. Everyone around you gets diagnosed. So you never come out the same. You are never the same. But one way or the other, the situation will not change. So you choose to see the glass half full or half empty.
So
yeah, again, it depends about EP and how advanced it is and how big the tumor is, and again where is it. And remember, with tumors, because cancer is there is a tumor, so a tumor grows, and then they do what we call a biopsy. The biopsy is when you test if the tumor itself is cancerous or it's benign. So when it's benign is when the cells are not cancerous, meaning they don't have a potential to spread. But when they become cancerous, which means they can spread beyond the point of origin, meaning beyond where they grew.
Should be, okay.
So in my case, it grew in the brain, but it spread because it was cancerous, so it was spreading. They took it out. I did irradiation, I did chemotherapy, and then I was in remission. I thought I was okay. And then COVID hit. And then with COVID, that hit 2020, I had COVID. And then with COVID, I had a stroke. COVID stroke. So because my immune system is very low, so I was very susceptible to COVID. So I COVID. I caught a COVID and I had COVID stroke. So while it got December, imagine spending Christmas with COVID stroke. I had COVID stroke, and then I had to be in rehabilitating my brain, my body, and all of that. That was 2020, and then all of that 2021. 2022, I collapsed, and that was in May. May, I had another brain scan, and the tumor regrew. So the cancer was back. That was 2022. And at that time, la point bikula kuyo, it's inoperable. When we say it's inoperable, meaning we cannot operate landa wikuyo. So we can only try to shrink it, treat it, to make sure that it doesn't grow as rapid as it wants to, So we try to contain landa wikuyo, but ingakhuli kakhulu ihlale phaya at least to buy you ixesha. And I remember my oncologist saying, plus minus 5 years. That was 2022.
That's the lifetime he was giving you.
Yes, lifespan, plus minus 5 years. 2022, it's in May 2022. I had just turned 30 years old. And I'm being given 5 years. I don't have a child. I don't have anything. It's just myself. I'm being given 5 years. And I'm asking him, what do I do in 5 years? And he says, just live.
Enjoy life.
Just live.
How ilandoza umuntu one COVID stroke like affecte kanjani yona uba ngumuntu onjani, because I've never seen medicine ngiqala uyiva ngawe, zange ndayiva ukuthi into enjani.
COVID was very weird because everything that was happening around COVID was named COVID. Because I suffered what is called TIA. It's a mini stroke. Yeah, it's a mini stroke. It's not really a full stroke. It's a mini stroke. So it's a TIA terms of medicine. It's a TIA. So it's an ischemic stroke. It's a TIA because it happened in COVID. That's why it's called COVID stroke. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just like in pneumonia, COVID pneumonia and so on.
So which means maybe out like COVID cancer.
Exactly, you understand. So anything you acquired in COVID would be called COVID something.
Okay.
So I had a TIA a mini stroke, but because it was time of COVID, it was called COVID stroke.
Okay.
Yeah. So I woke up one time and my whole left side was droopy, and I couldn't feel it. I couldn't feel my left side. It was droopy, it was numb, and I couldn't move it.
God.
So umuntu onayo ongazaziyo ubunayo mhlawumbe ngathi zeziphi symptoms okanye izinto anazibona ngayo bam hey I think they are think ba mandiye ndiyosiqonda.
Be very vigilant of everything that is abnormal in your body. That's one thing I always tell people. A headache is not normally just a headache.
That's true.
A headache is not normally just a headache. A cough is not normally just a cough. When you feel that your hand is numb today and it's still numb tomorrow, take a stand. Even if your GK clinic is nothing, it was worth something. Because it could be numb today and tomorrow your whole left side is numb. And the following day you suffered a stroke and you didn't even know.
Gosh.
Yo.
There's nothing as painful as having a seizure in your sleep and you didn't even know that you were having seizures. So for someone that doesn't even know what a stroke looks like. You might wake up with your left side or your right side or any other side numb, or you don't even feel your side. If you don't feel a certain part of your body, that's a sign of anything.
Okay.
You must not have a part of your body that you don't
Must just
feel.
be normal.
For out of nowhere nje ungafeel any part of your side, be it your fingers, be it your toes or anything.
Okay.
That's a sign of something, whatever it is. Go and have it
Seek
checked
for
out.
help.
Seek for help.
Yes. So, inaba unga just walk us through kwi treatment plan yakho mhlambe wenza njani?
That's the difficult part. That's the most painful part for me to even get into. When things got bad for me in terms of treatment, and I think that's where I had to strip myself naked and turn to the world. Cancer treatment is very expensive. I'm not sure how insightful you guys are about that, but cancer treatment is very expensive. And when you've worked for a government and you haven't been taken out of the government system as a government worker, you still stay there as a government worker. You go to the government hospital, you're still treated as a government worker, so you pay either way.
You pay for everything.
You pay for everything because you are taken as a government worker. And that's the part that the world does not really understand. So because I still had access to my medical aids at that time, I was treated by the private sector, right?
Okay.
When the funds were depleted and I ran out of my funds, some parts of my treatments were taken care of and most of the others were not. Because I lost everything. I had to sell my houses, I had to sell my properties, my belongings, so much that
You
I've
had to
lost
start from the
everything.
scratch.
Rock bottom.
Damn.
Is an understatement.
Was strong, yes.
I had to resort to crowdfunding, going public, my family starting campaigns to ask for help, even donations through my people and my community and everyone that was involved in my journey had to help me raise funds for some of my treatments.
Mm-hmm.
It was horrible to strip yourself naked and tell parts of your story that are so personal and so deep and share them with the world just so that you can get help. That's not something that you do very easily.
It's very hard.
It's very hard. For you to even reach that point in your life, it takes everything from you, everything. And social media is very brutal. That's one thing I can tell you. You endure, you pray, you lean on your friends, you lean on your family, you lean on God, you lean on your faith. It just takes everything from you. So that's where I was, and that's when I started writing my book. I wrote a memoir about my journey. I started writing my book and I wrote my book. I think that's one thing that kept me going. Just writing my book through my treatments, through my surgeries, through everything. I kept writing my book and writing my book and writing my book until I could feel a lump on my throat every time that I saw myself on social media, people sharing my story, sharing this and sharing that. And there are days where I couldn't believe that this is me. Looking back at everything that I've worked so hard for, being taken away from me, losing it all.
With just a snap.
Crashing right in front of my eyes.
Yeah.
God.
And then let's talk about incwadi now. Incwadi yakho ibhalayo ingantoni kwaye mhlawumbe ungathi mhlawumbe uthi nje mhlawumbe uyisummarize kancinci nje into encinci mhlawumbe ingantoni, and then mhlawumbe singayilindela nini?
Ideally it would have been out. It's about me. The title of my book, when I wrote it, it was titled "You Can Live Again." The book was a love letter to myself and to everyone that is fighting something, not necessarily cancer, but anything that makes you feel like you just cannot live. So it was my journey of hope and faith to say, whatever you are going through, you can live again. And it was literally me documenting every part and piece of my journey, from my childhood, from my encounters with bullying, my family, the black community not understanding depression, my undiagnosed depression episodes, my near-death experience when I tried to commit suicide at the age of 19 in varsity, everything, all of it. And I wrote it to almost finish when I stopped writing. And I just stopped. I don't even know why. And when I stopped and I just could not finish. I just literally froze. And I don't know why. And then I had to do a soul search, because I'm a person who also does a lot of soul searching every now and then. So I had to do a soul search, and I realized that the reason why I cannot finish my book is because of always feeling like I'm not enough. I feel like I'm not enough and I am not deserving of finishing my book. I feel like I am unfinished. Hence, my book is unfinished.
That's very deep.
Yeah. And then I think khona izinto ozibhalileyo kwi-wall yakho ku-Facebook andike ndazifunda ndathi go through omntwini ebenireferishe kuwe. So ndithe xa ndikhangela phaa ndiyafumanisa esinye story ubuke wasibalisa phayana soba wena watraywa ucommit suicide. I think 1 to 3 floors, or I don't know, I'm not sure, but uzayicacisa kakuhle. Inoba yayintoni into yayisenzeka, kwakusenzeka ntoni nafika, kwakutheni uzucommit suicide?
As a 19-year-old, I think I had, like I said, undiagnosed depression and a lot of issues that I hadn't dealt with, and a lot of traumas that needed to be attended to, and every little thing that went wrong in my life would trigger something else. At that point, like I said, I had been experiencing physical symptoms of being unwell. And then when I went to, in summary, when I went to our varsity doctor, I remember at CHC, there was a clinic there. So when I went there, that clinic doctor sent me to Tigerberg. When I went to Tigerberg, they sent me for a brain scan. And then when I went for that brain scan, and that doctor called me and said, you might have a brain tumor. That literally set me off. And it just took me back to a time when I had one eye because of cancer. And I was like, I cannot be facing a point in my life where I won't finish my degree because I am sick. I'd rather not be there. And I think it was just a build-up of all the other emotional things that I've never dealt with. And because in the Black society, nobody addresses depression and mental illnesses and mental health itself. So one way or the other, something set me off. And I jumped off a 3rd-story building all the way down. And I suffered multiple fractures. I actually nearly died, and I don't know why I didn't. It was only God. And that was my first encounter with God.
Wow. Yeah. And then, okay.
No, uthi waphuka amathambo, like so many. So was it your arm, your leg, and how was the feeling? Like you laying there and everything. Like, did you just lose your mind, or what happened?
I woke up after 3 days in ICU, and then obviously I had fractured my entire thing. This was the first fracture that I had from that fall. This was my fracture from that fall, and then in fact, my whole arm was fractured from that fall. This was the first trauma to the left side. I fractured my pelvis. So I fractured my pelvis, and I fractured a bone on my cheek. And what else did I? Oh, and then my lungs. My lung had collapsed and all of that, so I had a pneumothorax and I had became septic. It was just a whole lot of injuries. But I woke up after 3 days in hospital, and I could not move in bed because of all those injuries. But obviously in hospital you get numbed with painkillers and drips and stuff. And then only a couple of weeks later I could feel lots of pain. And it was very personal because my brother, and in December, and I could not go.
Gosh.
And I deprived my brother a moment of his life, and I deprived my siblings a chance to enjoy.
Like December.
Yeah, like December, and my mom as well, my parents as well. So I think that's also a part of me that will always carry that guilt with me.
And then hamba wayotreatwa eLantuka.
I was in GSH, yeah.
Yeah. And then phayana bakufakela, and then izinsimbi okanye intoni?
Yeah. Yes. So there was wires here, there was wires there, and because ndophuke amathambo mayithi amathambo alapha, so there was a radius and ulnar that broke. Yeah, so there were wires here as well. Yeah. And then
That was strong, man.
Goodness. And tell you what, so with all these fractures, recently, was it 2022 when my tumor came back? 2023, I had a tumor growing up on my hand. Since this tumor grows literally everywhere. So a tumor grew as a cyst color, and then it grew here on my hand. So what happened when it grew on my hand, like it literally grew bigger, and then tendons. So when they had to operate, because it had affected my entire arm, so when they had to operate, a surgeon that was operating took out the tumor and tried to buy my tendons, because I literally almost lost my fingers. So they tried to save my fingers, but tendons, only to find out that there were plates as I was shaking a lot 2010 here by Ikhotesgate Hospital. Yes, the plates were useful because they were needed, but they should have said 5 years later, come back so that we can remove the plates. They never did. So the plates were still here. And then while they were here, they will pull again a bone. So immediate clinic that was doing my surgery had to do damage control, take out the plates and repair the bone. Now I had to again suffer another long recovery period. And now recently this year, another tumor grew and tore a bone on my elbow and forearm. This was this year. When I went to hospital again, I woke up with a massive swollen arm, and then I rushed to hospital and so on. There was a huge infection and a whole lot of things. And then when they took me for a CT scan and x-rays, yes, there was a bone that was loose somewhere in tumors, but then again there were KY wires that were left there. So an infection got in and stayed in those KY wires. It's almost like imagine now a wire, a rusted wire. An infection is sitting there. Imagine what happens in a body when an infection is sitting in a rusted wire. Exactly. So that was what happened recently. I had to face a long-term recovery period. So again, immediately had to do another damage control that was done by GSH. They left those wires there, 2010. They didn't give me time to go back or tell me to go back so that they can remove those wires. They just let me be.
Yo. So oxa ucinga wena mhlambe igroote skill xa yenze impazamo ngelihlobo ucinga uba mhlambe ayinawukwazi uba mhlambe kuba I think ngoku uzibhatalela ukwenza ezinye izinto kodwa mhlambe akho ndlela mhlambe enothi mhlambe ikubhatale ngayo okanye mhlambe uzawufuneka uba wenza ithethe amanyathelo uba uyisuwishe okanye zithini ezinye ingcebiso ozifumanayo kwanye abantu.
I've been getting a lot of those comments and advices from my people on Facebook and stuff, but it was at a time when I was in extreme pain, and again, every time that I have to undergo surgery, it re-triggers me. I go back, and emotionally, it's a lot. It takes so much for me to go and take time to read this comment, take this advice, do this and do that. And I guess I haven't had time to sit down and say, okay, now I need to start here, and dithathe step ndiye ngapha and so on, because what happens is that I have to focus so much on getting better and rebuilding, because every time there's a setback like this, it's a setback on everything. Right now I had to lose my place to stay once again. I had to be housed by an extended family friend who's still housing me to this day. So my recovery period after the discharge was bedlele. I remember 3 days after the discharge, I had to move out of my place. I was evicted. I had to move out of my place. So my cousin sisters and my other sisters all had to help me move out. And then our family friend sister had to take us in. So my things and everything, we had to figure out buses, pieces, to reshape here and all of that. So imagine my brain is just clustered with a lot of things. It's just, I'm conflicted. So it's the recovery period. I have to focus on that and. So now I'm finally at least now healing, that I can sit here and at least there's no bandages, there's no cast, there's no everything. Only now I can breathe. But in my breathing, I have to go and look for work again. Now I have to register with agencies, nursing agencies, and try to look for work because I need to start from rock bottom. Now imagine where do I find time to sit down and start the court proceedings or whatever it is that I need to do. So yes, it's something that I truly feel like I need to do. But my fear is that Okona also make a comment and saying that these things need to be done immediately. There's a certain time period and stuff like that. Yeah, well, so there's also those fears. So I need to sit down with my Facebook and go back to those comments and find Bambane 10, yes, track it down, who said what, and so on.
And then
you need a month, you need a 1 month.
Especially on that post itself, when I posted that, people went crazy and everyone just wanted to have an opinion on that, and I appreciated that. But there were also others who were lambasting me and doing that. So you have to be emotionally
People
stable.
are savage.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Yes, ke ngoku yonke ke ngoku lento yenzekayo mhlambe bakhona abantu abazamayo ukunceda okanye likhona incedo olufumanayo mhlambe kumasebe athile okanye kubantu abathile okanye khona umuntu osazamayo.
At this point, the only help that I've been getting is literally from just normal people.
Okay.
Just normal people. I'm not gonna lie. I've built a sense of community on my social media, especially on Facebook. I'm not gonna lie. My social media friends and community has been amazing. Facebook in particular has been amazing. It has been supportive. It has been just sometimes the only support that has carried me through a lot, not just financially, but also emotionally and spiritually. They've been my prayer points sometimes. They've just been carrying my emotions. They've just been carrying me through financially. Sometimes others would call me when I'm going to my hospital visits, and a stranger would call me and say, and be like, and then be like, okay, I'll meet you there. And it's someone that I don't even know, and they would be there, you know. So they've just been amazing. I'm not gonna lie. It's one of the reasons why I say sometimes I look at my journey and at my life, and as painful as it has been, but I do not take for granted the love of God. I do not take for granted the hand of God that has been holding me throughout. And it makes me sometimes think, this is not about me. This has never been about me. Whatever God is trying to teach me, I'm willing to learn.
Tell me, what help do you need? Like, what kind of help do you need?
Right now I'm just trying to rebuild my life. If I could get a chance to go back to work, to just rebuild my life, just starting from scratch, I'm working on registering myself with agencies, getting back to work, finding a place to stay. Everything else I'll build from there. I found myself, unfortunately, at the mercy of others, but that's not who I wanted to be. That's not what I wanted to be.
Okay. Good. Is anything?
For ngoku ne, like, is there anything ozoyenza ngoku kanye landoza i-future plans onazo? And nokuvile ne uthi ufuna ubuyela emsebenzini ubuild ulife wakho kokutsha, but is there any way ozoyenza loo nto ngayo? Zithini iinyathelo zakho zowathatha, like uzoregisterisha and everything, like after you go back to landoza emsebenzini and ulife wakho ke uyabona ustandard no, so like are you planning to finish landoza incwadi zakho and go back uphile ulife normal? So how's the story?
My life will never be normal. My life will never ever be normal. But absolutely, my plan is to finish my book. I went back to therapy because of that, because I need to work on myself so that I can be able to finish my book. Because like I did mention earlier on, that I just went into a zone of just a freezing zone. And with the losing of everything, I even lost my laptops and I could not retrieve my book. So a friend of mine one day was trying to help me retrieve my manuscript and so on. As soon as that is done, I'm going back to finishing my book. And that's my first project that I need to do. And then people have been pestering me, or rather telling me about starting a YouTube channel and so on. I don't have the confidence for that. I feel like I don't have the confidence for that, or I don't have what it takes. Again, I think it's the issues of not feeling like you're enough or you have what it takes kind of things. But I would love to conquer that fear, maybe start the YouTube channel, see where that takes me. And I have an NGO that I wanted to start also when I got diagnosed, because I wanted it to be a space for cancer patients, especially youngsters, because cancer does not only affect abantu abadala, it affects abantu abatsha as well. So I wanted to start an NGO for cancer patients. So it's one of the projects that I would love to kickstart, but one thing at a time. One thing at a time. But my life will never really be normal.
Do you feel like already buyele emsebenzini after all you go through?
I feel like I need to. I feel like I need to. I think for my sanity and I feel like I need to, so that I can feel kind of close to normal.
Okay. That's beautiful.
Okay. Before we close, is there anything you would like to add? Okanye sikhange mhlawumbe ongakhange siyibuze okanye mhlawumbe ukhale uyidiscuss mhlawumbe?
For now, it's literally an honor to be here, to be invited by you guys, and I'm hoping that it has always been my not my dream per se, but it has always been part of my wishes to share my journey like as vast as I possibly can, beyond the corners of my social media platforms, for it to reach as many people as it can, to bring hope to the hopeless, to just I never wanted to fight alone, but I also never wanted to fight for me.
Okay.
There will be somebody else out there who's going to be diagnosed tomorrow and not know how to deal with it, or not even know how to accept the news, because the weight of a diagnosis is very heavy, and I don't think anyone understands that until they are diagnosed. So for me, it has always been about bringing hope to those people, holding those people's hands and walking with them. So I hope this reaches somebody out there that feels alone, that feels like they cannot handle a diagnosis, or they cannot handle their family member's diagnosis, their friend's diagnosis, or their friend is going through something similar, their family member is going through something similar, and they just don't know where to start. They just don't know how to deal with it. Yeah, I know it's a cliche, or rather it's a familiar phrase, but when it hits home,
Xa lifumaneka uncedo ke ngoku abantu bangakufumana njani?
for now, I'm really just to SINDY KHOLIWE on my Facebook and SINDY KHOLIWE on my Instagram, and I am truly hoping to start the YouTube channel.
Yeah,
Please do.
yeah, just do it, just do it, because you are also good on camera, and also ungatuphiwa apha ekuthetheni futhi.
She's very
As much
talented.
as much ukwazi uphiwe kakhulu nalapha ekubhaleni yabo. I think izinto ozibhalileyo uba ungalithatha ngoku njengoba uzibhala nje uzishoot and then sizibone ke ngoku uzithetha yabo. Sometimes abanye abantu bava xa bebona bava ngobona abanye.
Yeah.
Xa ubafundisa mhlawumbe abanye abantu bayibona
Are not
into
readers.
bathanda ukufunda into ende,
Yeah.
but xa uyithetha ngokwakho then
It is
sazusayimamela.
different, yeah.
Umzekelo ngoba mhlawumbe iindaba ezithatha 30 minutes azimamele ziphele, kodwa xa unomnika iphepha afunde for 30 minutes
No,
akanawenza.
a lot of people are not readers,
Yeah,
definitely.
funeka uyijonge amacala, but I'm not saying iyeke lo ubhala.
Yes.
Ungaphinda ubhale ngapha uphinde nangapha ukayitarishe nangapha, so
Yes,
ukayitarishe abantu
yes.
macala, because most yabantu abaninzi xa ndibonayo ngokubathanda
Yeah.
ubukela into efonini and i-visual hayi nje ufunda. Mhlawumbe imessage yokugqibela onoyitsho kwi-audience yethu mhlawumbe ungathini?
My message to the audience is that I'm not a confident person. I've never been one, but I've always wanted my voice to send hope. I've always wanted my voice to be one that will make a difference in humanity. And with my story, it's not a story to me, it's a journey, and it's not just a journey. I walk this journey, I live this life day in and day out. So for some people, they read about it, they listen to it, and maybe it's just a story, but to me it's not. It's my life. I live this day in and day out, and it might be your life too, in a different way, and you also have a story to tell. And if you do, don't sit on it. Nobody can tell your story like you do. Don't sit on it, and it's always better if you share it. People are better than no people, and everyone needs people. So hold somebody's hand and let someone hold your hand. When they say it takes a village, it's not just about raising children, it's about everyone. Let's build a sense of community. And the world is cruel already, yes, but there's also people that are capable of building a community with. There's still humanity left in us.
Powerful.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your amazing story. I hope abantu abaninzi bazasilandela kwaye bafuna uncedo. Siyabulela kakhulu.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Yo, story sakho.
Welcome to the biggest podcast in the world. Yeah. Me say dive into the rhythm, feel the new wave vibe. Yeah. Where fresh thoughts and voices come alive. Yeah. From deep conversations to the latest trends, yeah. Won't you join us on this journey where the wave never ends? It's inspirational, yeah. Educationally, conversationally, and intellectually. The gold and the best in the game, yeah. Tell me how you catching the wave, yeah, yeah. It's a new wave, yeah, yeah. It's a new wave. It's inspirationally, educationally, conversationally, and intellectually. The best and the gold in the game, yeah. Tell me how you catching the wave, yeah, yeah. It's a new wave, yeah, yeah. Catch a new wave, yeah.